All right, today on the podcast, we are chatting with Karissa Schweizer. Karissa, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So I was just following you on Instagram, and you kind of updated us all a little bit about an injury, which is less fun.
Wait. You got to tell her that she's a Nike athlete with Bowerman.
Oh, I figured everyone knew that.
I don't know that everybody,
Okay.
like there's some people that aren't track heads like me that, I'm like, okay.
All right, go for it.
I think I just said it, but why don't you do it? You do a really good job.
Karissa, you are a Nike athlete with the Bowerman Track Club. And
I believe they're in Oregon.
Yeah. How is it over there?
Yeah, it's been good. A lot of rain. But I've been really liking the West Coast. I'm from the Midwest originally, and I just think it's nice to be able to get out the door and actually run outside in the winter and not have to be stuck to the treadmill life.
Oh, wow. We actually went out there when Worlds was happening, and we got to run that Preece Trail and everything like that. They actually said that they cleaned it up for Worlds. They made it nice and like resodded it and stuff for that time period. Is it in pretty good condition when they're not hosting Worlds?
Yeah, I actually like it better when it's like in the rainy months, because I feel like during like the summer and when they like get it prepped before like Worlds or like big like races, they just add tons of wood chips on it. And I actually am like, this is so hard to run out here. Whereas like in the rainy months, it's more just like packed down and a lot nicer.
Plus, it gets your shoes so dirty when it's like all dusty. And
yeah, the summer's the worst. It's like a new pair of shoes turns brown right away.
Yeah, I'm sure you get a hookup though. Like, I mean, do you ever have to worry about shoes at this point?
No, definitely not.
You could probably run to Nike from there, right? How far is that?
Oh, could, but that would be like an ultra runner status.
All right, so maybe not doing that. Yeah, it's funny we brought up the trail already, because when we were out there, everyone was like, "Oh, Preece Trail is like so amazing," and I was like, it's not that great to run on. Like, it's all the wood chips, get your shoes dirty.
Yeah, you never feel great when you're out there, and of course, you're like everyone's coming into town before some of their biggest races, and they're like running out on Preece Trail, and you're just like, I feel so tired and so slow.
Yeah, especially when you see all the pros running by. So how did you end up out there from the Midwest?
I went to school at University of Missouri. So through just my time there, I actually didn't really envision myself running professionally. I didn't think that was going to be an option for me. But as my career went on, it became a real possibility. And so just kind of like talking to coaches through my senior year of college, and I went out and visited the Nike Bowerman group when they were in Portland, and I just really liked like the group. I really liked what they were about. The facilities obviously were great, and getting to run in Nike is obviously great too. Just being from a Nike school too is a good transition for me.
Was it like a dream come true? Like, oh, I'm going to the mothership?
Yeah, definitely. I think just when you're in college, you're just like, you look at different groups, and at the time it was like Bowerman is like the best group out there. So I just wanted to go to where I knew I could reach my potential.
Yeah. It's interesting because like in sports, a lot of times I don't know why we don't think of track and field and professional running the same as you would think of like a baseball team or a football team, but there's like rebuilding years. And it seems like Bowerman right now is in sort of like this rebuilding, and there's talent coming in, there's talent shifting in other places. Like, what do you see as like the future of Bowerman and the athletes that you're going to be running with?
Yeah, I think like we can't hide from last year was obviously a really rough year for us. But we also had a lot going on just with a big move to Eugene. We were originally in Portland, and our coach is now the director at University of Oregon. So there was just a lot of shifts, because at the end of the day, some people didn't want to be in Eugene or didn't want to have their coach have another, now all these other athletes too. So I think it's been like a good shift for us though, because the group we have right now is just very positive about our situation. And moving forward, I think it will be good, like good rebuilding, because we can just kind of like, now the people that are coming in, like they know they're like going to be in Eugene, they know what they're getting into, rather than having a group that's just like maybe not happy with the situation. So I think moving forward, better.
What is it like having like, are you training with college athletes? Like, what is the dynamic like?
Yeah, I feel like that's like everyone's question, but no, we're not training with the college athletes. It's nice to have them around. I think you kind of forget, like when you have like younger athletes around, like how much like, yeah, you're an inspiration to them, but also they inspire you because they just have that like gritty, like I'll do anything to get to like your point right now. So it's always like nice to like have that around and get to see, like, honestly, like throughout the year, it's been like really cool to watch them race as well, because you just start to like know some of the athletes around and you just kind of feel more involved with the program. And so that's been, yeah, nice. But yeah, we don't train alongside them. We have our separate days that we're doing our workouts, and they have their days that they're doing their workouts. Every now and then we'll have like some college athletes like pop out on the track and watch the race, like watch the workout and stuff. So yeah, it's a fun environment to be around.
Do you get the other perks like the football games and stuff like that? Are you doing that? Are you
active with that? There was the big Colorado-Oregon game. So I went to that earlier this year, and then I actually went to another one. But yeah, this year was my first time in Autzen Stadium. So it's been fun to watch some of those games, and people, like the Oregon crowd is really crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you said like you weren't planning or expecting to go pro, like this was going to be your career in college, because from the outside, I just assumed like that was your trajectory the whole time. Like you've been running your whole life. I think you come from parents who are talented and athletes. So let's go like way back. And when did like running start, and when did you realize you were talented?
Yeah. I come from a family of runners. If anyone's listened to like a podcast in the past, I'm sure they know that. But my grandpa was a runner, and he actually ended up coaching the high school that I went to for about 30 years, maybe more.
Wow.
So he was the track and field cross country coach there for a while. And then my mom was also an assistant coach there for a while. And she met my dad while running at Mankato State. So very long history of runners. Both my siblings, my sister is running at University of Missouri, and then my brother ran at Notre Dame. So yeah.
So it's like, it's just your expected, like Thanksgiving's coming up. This might air after Thanksgiving. Well, definitely going to air after Thanksgiving. But like, I'm guessing your family turkey trot is really competitive.
Yeah, there's been some talk in the group chat already. My brother has a new, he just got engaged, so his fiance is coming back for Thanksgiving with us, and she's not a runner, and she's like been training. She's like, I gotta prep for this.
Dude, can you imagine the pressure?
No, I feel like that's got to be the scariest family to enter into the turkey trot with.
Yeah, you guys are all stretching. You're all in pro gear, Nike head to toe.
Yeah, so it'll be fun to. I'm not going home this year, sadly, but it'll be fun to watch from afar.
Okay, so when did you sign up for your first race? Were you running before high school? What did that all look like?
Yeah, I did not a ton of running before high school. My parents, like, I was in a bunch of other sports and just kind of was filling out, like, they obviously wanted me to run, but I played basketball, did soccer. I was actually the one that was like, can I please do like a 5K or something? Because I was like always in gym classes. I feel like that's when I kind of knew. I was like, okay, like I feel like I can be good at this. But my parents were always worried that like a 5K would be too far for me at that age. So I think I was allowed to do one 5K before high school started. And I remember training with my dad for it. And we would run like our training runs were like every other day, like 2 miles, and we'd have walks.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike me, I took my kid out and just ran him into the ground. I was like, you just keep running.
You'll eventually like it.
Well, yeah, he won't run with me anymore. Like, he's going to do a turkey trot, and he's making sure that it's one that I'm not doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I struggled to run with my mom at times because she would like 2-step me. So I would just at times I'd be like, I'm not running with you. Like,
But you enjoyed it. Like as a kid, you were like, I want to go out and run. Like I like this.
yes, I always enjoyed it. And I think just as like I got into high school and got to experience more of the team aspect of it, that's when I like really fell in love with it. And especially cross country, I started with like some sporadic like middle school track races, but when I started to do cross country, that's when I really liked the sport.
Okay, and you were recruited for running in college.
Mm-hmm.
But you said that you weren't expecting to go pro. Like what were you studying in school and what were you thinking you were going to do after school?
Yeah, so at the time I was studying health science and I actually wanted to be a dietitian for a bit. And then as obviously running came into the picture, it was kind of like a bit of a pivot. And I've obviously really enjoyed it. But heading into college, I was definitely not expecting to run professionally just because, like, I mean, I was getting recruited from these schools and I was having some schools tell me, like, oh, you're going to struggle to, like, be in our top 7 or this is, like, going to be a hard program for you. Because, like, in high school, like, I was a good runner, but I definitely didn't showcase that I was going to be anywhere near where I am today. I think I had one state title and I had more NCAA titles than I had state titles, which I don't think that's a normal stat to have. But yeah, so
what happened with your running? Like what changed?
Yeah, I just like in high school, I just really, my parents, my coach, everyone just was like really just having fun with it. And at the time I felt like I was doing like some pretty like intense training, but I was running probably like 30 miles a week and very easy workouts when I look back on them. But I thought I was like, oh, like I would cross the finish line of a race and be like, that's by far the fastest I'm ever going to get. Like that was so hard. And when I got into college, it was just like, they ramped my mileage up a little bit, but very like, I like eased into it, like starting off with like 50, 55. And even just adding like that, it was like, whoa, like it just like propelled my fitness a lot. And throughout college, I was like very consistent. We had always kind of cycle my training. So whenever we added mileage, it'd be like, okay, we're adding like a high week and now we're going back to a low week, maybe a medium week. And just making sure I can handle like what we were all throwing. Because it's hard to, when you go into college, you're increasing intensity naturally and you're increasing your mileage. And then on top of that, you have all these other changes. And so I think I was very good about being able to transition into that. And my coach, my college coach was really good at like making sure he was never adding too much onto me at a time. And I even remember my junior year, it was like, okay, like everything's clicking. It's going really well. Like, let's add some more mileage. And my coach is like, nope, like we're doing great right now. Like, I think we just stay where we're at and just keep consistent training. So I think that he was just really helpful for me to be able to like get to where I'm at now and be able to have those options professionally.
Do you feel like you were able to manage kind of like becoming a student athlete and enjoying like the college experience and social and all that? Or were you basically just focused on doing the best you could with running?
Yeah, I think being a student athlete was challenging, but also just like caused me to be a lot more like organized and plan things in advance. And I think just like the first year of traveling with the team and missing like all these classes was definitely challenging. But once I started to figure out like going into the following years, like how to navigate that, it helped a lot because I think just like in high school, you're not used to missing like a big test or a big exam and having to, like, you're usually leaving like a Friday, but in college you're leaving like a Wednesday or a Tuesday for these big meets, and that's definitely challenging. But I know like a lot of classes will have like online options too, so I think even just looking for sometimes like more of like a hybrid type of class too.
Was there a race or a moment that you can think of in college where it sort of switched in your mind of like, hey, this is what I should be doing, like for my career, like I am great at this?
Yeah, we go back to my first national title with cross country. That whole season, I felt like everything was just kind of clicking. And I know leading into nationals, like I actually wasn't a big favorite. And that like for me, I was like mad about that. I was like, I had such a good season, like leading into nationals. Like, why am I not like on the panel like beforehand when everyone's like in the press conference talking to these potential athletes that could win? And there's like, I was like talking to my coach the night before, and he's like, just show them that you should be on there. And
Yeah.
she's like, just run in the top 5 and anything can happen. And so I did
It's got to be motivating.
Yeah. And when I crossed the finish line, I was like, okay, like this is what I want to do professionally. And at the time I was actually talking to some people, and there's like, yeah, that's great, but like you need to have like some fast track times. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like that's not enough. So that motivated me more to even go into indoor and outdoor that year.
I always think that when we talk to people that come from track and cross country, the lifespan, it seems like compared to other sports, the lifespan seems kind of truncated and smaller. And so there's like, you see it evolves into marathon running or other forms. Do you feel like there's a pressure to hit like stuff as hard as you can at this in a certain time period? Is that pressure weighing on you, or are you like, I can do this now, I can stretch it out? And you're seeing women like Cara D'Amato, who's 39, who's got the half marathon American record right now. You see that age kind of scooping up into professional athletes. Do you feel less pressure, or do you feel like, hey, I've got to do stuff now?
Yeah, I mean, our sport does have a shelf life, so I feel like it's always you always feel that pressure. And but seeing athletes like Cara like being able to dominate and still be setting like PRs, American records, and stuff like that is really inspiring, because for me personally, like I would love to transition to the road someday. So I think it's just really cool to see people being able to stretch out their career, because at some point I don't want to stay on the track for too long, because it is like the track is pretty hard on your body. I mean, obviously with my 2 surgeries now. So it'd be, I feel like the roads could be a good transition to hopefully prolong my career.
So you're talking about your injuries right now. Has medicine gotten that much better? And maybe you don't know this, but has it gotten that much better that stuff that maybe would have put somebody on the sideline for their career is now something that you can get a surgery for, and you're back in a few months and ready to roll for the next season? Is it that much better, or is it just that just you're able to recover and come back?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both for sure. I mean, even the surgery that I got this past year, I've heard of other people had it like 10 years ago or so, and it was just like way more intense, like, and just way more invasive, taking them way longer to recover. And I think it's like the medicine has just like progressed a lot in that sense. And even since I got the surgery 2 years ago versus just now, there was even like little improvements that I was like, oh, that's like great that they're adding this now, or that's awesome that they're realizing that you can come back even faster, because tendons do love load. So I think there is like a lot of progress in that sense, but also my like PT or like people I've talked to are very knowledgeable of like these injuries, as a lot of them are pretty common. I feel like at least like the typical ones that people are getting. And they're starting to realize like how to recover from that or to come back from that.
It'd be interesting since they're common. We'll get into what yours was exactly, but it's like, okay, we're seeing this with people. How do we prevent it would be like the next step. Because like one thing is we all know, hey, runners are going to get plantar fasciitis. They're going to get, what's the one in your hip? Bursitis, like I forget what it is, but everybody gets it. And there's certain ones that are there that they're putting, and I know that Nike with the Infinity program was trying to come up with ways to prevent repetitive stress and injuries in runners and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that would be the great next move, is to get people in a position where they're not having to suffer from it anymore. So can we get into a little bit about what like you just got surgery for and what you got surgery for 2 years ago?
Yeah. So 2 years ago and this last surgery, they're both for Haglund's, which is a bone spur that's rubbing on your Achilles. And so I actually have been basically running in pain for the last 3 years. And that's just been really mentally challenging. And my first surgery that I got, I was running like into the Olympics. Like everyone on my team was just basically like made the Olympics on one leg. So not ideal. And I did the 10K, 5K, and just like racing the rounds of the 5K and then coming back for the 10K. It was just like, I was taking so much like painkillers and just like constant, like just getting out of bed, like wobbling around, like being like, okay, I'll warm up eventually. And just in a lot of pain. So after the Olympics, I was like, needed to get something done and realized that it was surgical, and I was pretty nervous about it. But I actually had someone on my team, a couple of people that were on my team, Sean McGorty and Vanessa Frazier. They both actually had the same thing, and Vanessa actually got bilateral surgery. So she got on both at the same time. And then Sean just got his second one. So both of them had surgery on both Achilles. So it was really inspiring.
What do they do? Do they just shave it down?
Yeah, they shave down that bone so it stops rubbing on the Achilles. Because what they described it to me was like a sharp edge, and your Achilles is a rope, and it's like fraying on this sharp edge.
Oh, geez, yeah.
So I don't like that. And so they're like, we need to go and shave down the bone. And then since I was also running on it for a bit, I had like a bursa there too. So they'd go in and remove that and then clean up the tendon too, because there'd be like some debris and stuff. So, but after I got
it
on
immediately? Yeah.
Yes. After I got on my right, it was like, once I was out of the boot and walking, I was like, I feel better than I was before heading into surgery. So it's pretty immediate relief that you can feel, especially if like you've been running on it for a long time. And for me, it was just like, I finally felt like that was 2022 season. That was like, I finally feel like I can start training and like recovering, and not like, because I feel like I was doing these workouts and instead of like full on recovering, I was like, okay, I got to do X, Y, and Z to make sure my like Achilles is ready to go for the next workout. But I wasn't thinking of like anything else. It was just like, let's just make sure that this Achilles is ready to go. And so that was really hard for me. And then in 2022, it was like, I finally felt like I had a bit of a runway that I could actually train, actually feel confident going into workouts and not have to like worry about it constantly. And then I overdid it a bit, like I feel like most athletes do when they get excited. And I just raced a lot, especially for just coming off of a big surgery, and ended up tearing my calf really bad.
Oh, geez.
Worlds. So it's been a tough couple of years for me, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously this is your off season right now. That's why you're getting the surgery now. And you're probably gearing up. There's a big event happening, I think, in Paris this year. And when do you guys start training and getting ready for trials for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that's already started for sure. But for me, it's just kind of slowly progressing into that training and making sure that we continue to progress. Because I think the worst thing that can happen is just taking a couple of steps back. So even if it's a little bit slower of a progression, just as long as we're like continually, like we keep moving up. So I'm excited just because last year was challenging for me. I had to just recover from a bad calf and Achilles tear on my side. But this time it was like, okay, now I actually got a problem fixed. So being able to like see the steps that like each week it's going to get better, and knowing that already that I feel less pain than I did last year is like very reassuring for me.
What sort of like cross training and are you able to do, or if any, right now?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of biking right now, underwater treadmill, which is extremely difficult. And then I've been introducing the boost a little bit lately. So that's been exciting because I feel like that means outdoor running is kind of around the corner.
That's interesting. Have you tried? I'm sure you have better equipment than I have, but
Anti-gravity.
But like, do you have like the what is it? The G treadmill?
Oh,
yeah,
the boost,
Ultra G, yeah. And then we have at our house we have the lever, but I think that's probably So I mean, do you think you'll be on that next and then the road, or you think you'll go from underwater treadmills to the road?
I think I'll probably be on the boost a little bit and then to the like road.
Oh, is the boost like an Ultra G?
Yes, yeah. So boost.
Is it like take your okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Yeah, I didn't recognize that.
Yeah, but yeah, same thing. So I'm on that right now, and starting to like kind of once we get into like 85% body weight, it's kind of like, okay, now we can start introducing some outside runs. So right now I'm doing some stuff at like 80%. So we're getting close.
I mean, it's fun that you get a chance to move. Is part of your deal? Do you get like is massage and that kind of stuff all part of the deal?
Yeah, so we have a PT that is like on our team, and she's been great. She always jokes that like I'm her neediest patient or athlete. We spent a lot of time together in the last 3 years.
That's a big perk, though. That's a really big perk.
I think it helps me a lot. It helps me being able to, even though I've been so hurt these last 3 years, I've still been able to have like seasons and being able to compete. So I think that's been a huge advantage that we've had. And even just coming back from this injury at such like just a hard time, because it is an Olympic year. I am like really confident because I was like, okay, we did it in 2021. And I felt like I was in some of the best shape of my life in 2022. And this year, like, we're just going to do it again.
Yeah. And in a way, it's like forcing you to like rest and recover a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that, I think people forget how like beneficial that can be, especially just because we're just constantly just, like you end your season in September or something. And then you take like maybe a week or two off, and then it's already like ramping back up, and people are starting probably some races in December, January, and it's just like starts all over again. But it's nice to have like a forced reset.
Do you have an event that you're like thinking or aiming towards to run like competitively soon?
Yeah, I'm hoping, I'll have to get times in the 10K and 5K. So that'll be the main focus for at least the preseason part. And that'll probably take up my whole lead up to the trials. So yeah, the 10K and the 5K are tough ones to recover from. So I feel like you have to really plan them out well.
So I know as an amateur, like mentally an injury is really hard. Like you want to be out there running. As a professional, like this is your career and you're not able to do what you love and want to do. Like how are you over the past 2 years? Like how have you handled that mentally? And like, what do you do to stay sane almost?
Yeah, that was, I feel like, a big challenge, just because even like in college, when you have like tiny setbacks, you have other things to focus on. But when you're a professional, you're just like, okay, this is my one job and I can't even do that right now. So I think mentally it's just been kind of challenging, but being able to like refocus my like energy on other things has been really helpful. And to just like remember that like this sport doesn't define you. And at the end of the day, like you can only run for like so long. So I just think like distractions are nice during that time, and just not even thinking about running. Sometimes it's even healthy for me to not really be around it. So like I actually went home for like 2-3 weeks, like back to Iowa when I was recovering from surgery. And it's just nice to like be able to fully relax, have parents cook dinner and stuff like that. So,
I was gonna ask, and I think you just answered the question. Like, I think it's tough sometimes as an amateur, as just a person who hobby jogs. Like when I'm injured or something, going on Instagram and seeing people racing or seeing people, you know, running, there's a bit of like that, oh geez, you start to feel sorry for yourself, or start to, you know, like there's like a bad feeling in your chest or something. Do you avoid social media when you can't run, like because you don't want to see that stuff, like people training and doing stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to see that stuff sometimes, and I feel like every now and then it's just good to just, you know, shut that off and not look at it and just focus on other things, because I feel like once you start to do that, you realize like how small of like this problem is that you're like thinking is like the end of the world. You're just like, okay, like I'll be okay. Like I'm just forced to like do a reset. And then sometimes I'm just like, at the end of the day, like it's amazing that I can get this surgery and not have to like grind away at like a 9 to 5 while I'm also like rehabbing from an Achilles injury. So just kind of taking that time to like really relax, really reset, reading a lot, Netflix a lot. Yeah, so it was good.
I was gonna say, what are the hobbies we picked up? And okay, I heard books and Netflix. So tell me some good books, and what are we binging on Netflix?
Megan just finished the Britney Spears book, by the way.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so right now I'm reading Lessons in Chemistry, which is also on, I think, Apple TV too, like the show is. So reading that right now, and then I've been watching a lot of reality TV, which I'm trying to get better at. But sometimes I'm just
I'm here for it.
Yeah, Megan is right there with you.
All right, tell me some. What are you doing? Love is Blind?
Paradise Island.
Finished that one, and then Golden Bachelor right now too, which is actually really sad. I feel like
I couldn't get into that one. I don't know. It didn't feel right to me.
Which part of it is sad?
I just feel like whenever people leave, it's kind of like, oh no, like, are they gonna find someone? Whereas like when they leave,
they're like unwanted puppies.
they're even just like the way they're talking. There's like, you really like opened me up and like showed me that like I can like explore other relationships, or that like I can still get out there. And it's just like so sad because some of these people just haven't dated anyone in like 10 years or something.
Yeah.
You're just like,
wow.
Yeah, and all their departures are just so sad. They're all crying, and it's just like,
Oh.
They should do this with track, like take people who haven't run in like 10 years. Be like, all right, you're going to do the 10K.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I don't want to know what I'm going to be at 70, because I'm like, the way I'm treating my body right now, I'm like, it's going to be tough.
That's my goal. My goal is to let the time come down to me. Like I'm not fast, so it's like I'm gonna wait. And longevity is my friend, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
So you were talking about that some of these kids that, and I say kids, but they're in college and they come and they are looking up to you as a professional athlete and kind of like admiring where you are with your career. Is there somebody that you feel that you either currently look up to or was an inspiration to you growing up in not the industry, but the sport?
Gosh, I feel like growing up, I always looked up to Shalane, and I think it's kind of like crazy now that she is like one of my coaches. And I even look back to like, there's, I think, NXN that I have like really just like funny like pictures of me like with Shalane or with Evan, and now it's like, oh, I'm like training with them now, so I need to like find those pictures and show them because it is really funny. But it is cool to like kind of like full circle moment to like look up to those people and then also get to like know them and realize like how great of people they really are. But even just like going back to like I know this isn't in like the industry, but I always like really looked up to my grandpa because he was like a longtime high school coach, and I would always like my parents would make fun of me because I would like veto whatever advice they were giving me and be like, I gotta call grandpa. Like, and they're like, well, you have to do this and this, and I'm like in the bathroom being like, grandpa, what do I do? I was just in my head, I was like, he knows best. So I still call him before all my races, and nowadays it's more just kind of like him being like, yeah, I think you're gonna run great, and he guess around what time he thinks I'll run, and it's really cute. He's been out to a lot of races, and
how close is he on your times usually?
In high school, he was very close. Nowadays, I feel like he usually can get like ballpark. But it is dependent on, because like in high school, it was like you always just run as fast as you can. And nowadays it's like, okay, now it's a tactical race. Or like the weather's not great and no one goes for it. So when you throw those factors in, sometimes he's not the closest. But when you throw in like we're going after like a hard time, he's usually pretty close.
Oh, that's rad.
I think you also said he was at Eugene.
Yes.
Last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was that just like, I can't imagine for him that's got to be incredible that he's there watching you on that field. I mean, was that just an amazing moment for your whole family?
Yeah, I mean, they just, every time they come out and watch me race, it's just been so fun to be able to have like such a big family, such a big presence there. Even going back to like the trials in 2021, I think Bowerman like had everyone make shirts for like who they were like watching. And I forget, I think mine had like kicking for Karissa on the back. And I had so many people come up to me like, I've seen so many of these shirts. Like, I'm like, awesome. Yeah, that's all my family. And it would be like my like, cousins and like aunt and uncle, like people that all came out to watch and were all supporting with those shirts. So it was really fun to see. And it was hot in Eugene, and they were like a dark blue like cotton t-shirt, and they were just like sweating it out watching in those shirts. So yeah, it was great.
So I felt spoiled because we got seats in the shaded side of the stadium.
Yeah.
And if you were in the sun side, it was
boiling.
blazing. And I have also to admit something. That was my first track meet. So my first track meet was Worlds. Yeah.
Wow.
So we went, and it was amazing because we were right on the rail, like right on the midfield side. So we were so close, and I was just like, this is insane. Like, and like,
we went from 0 to 60 in the track world. Yeah. Very spoiled.
Yeah.
And compared to watching
Gene.
Yeah, compared to watching marathons and stuff, which they're still running incredibly fast. And I really loved spectating the marathon while we were there. But you just don't, like when you're down right next to the track and you see people flying at the fastest human possible times on foot, it blew me away.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like so cool to have like so many people come out and watch, and then also just being like on the track itself, like you're just hearing people chant like USA, or like they're so excited when you're like out there. And that just like I've competed at like Doha, and that definitely doesn't happen there. So it's really cool to see that and experience that like running on our like home turf.
What's been your favorite track to run on?
Oh gosh.
Like, do you ever have to pinch yourself? Like, this is where I made it to. Like, I can't believe this.
I feel like Tokyo was really cool, and I really want to make it back for Worlds in 2025 because a full stadium there would just like, it's just, yeah, it's crazy. The atmosphere and just like how insane that stadium was. I feel like I just walked in and I was like, this is incredible. But honestly, like all the world stadiums that I've gone to have been very impressive. Like even my first one, which was Doha, had the AC ducts. So I was just like, this is crazy. So yeah, it was like very hot in Doha, but we were basically running on like a glorified indoor track because it was just like so cool in there.
Nice and cool. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's funny that you say Tokyo because we went and ran the marathon there, and they don't like if you go run New York, people are screaming at you from the sidelines and cheering, and it's very polite in Tokyo where they just like "Ganbatte, ganbatte," you know, it's like.
Oh wow!
And, yeah, it was. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, it was a very different experience. But I also love Tokyo. Like I would go back there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and obviously we didn't have any fans in the stands, so it'd be very cool to see a different side of it.
Yeah,
it is kind of weird. Like you kind of miss out a little bit on the Olympic experience running in Tokyo. I mean, what was that like for you? Like, were you in like an athlete village thing where you had to like kind of be segregated from everybody?
Yeah, so we were in the village, and then we had to take a COVID test every morning, which was terrifying because you just knew at like any moment you could just be completely yanked from everything. And this is just something that like obviously everyone has worked for so long. So I think it was just like once I finally got on the line and like finished my first prelim, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can actually call myself an Olympian. Like I finished this race, like. And then you just kind of like have this huge sense of relief because that just like heading into the buildup, it was just constant. Like, I mean, you go 2020 being like, okay, maybe we're not even going to have an Olympics. And then 2021, it was still up in the air. People were like, it could get canceled at any point. And it was just a constant like anxiety and stress that I didn't even realize was like weighing on me until I finally like crossed that line. And I was just like, feel like I can breathe again. And so to just refocus for my next races, because I was just so happy that it ended up happening, because for so long, it just is so much talk of like, it's not even going to happen.
So what's your stance on tattoos?
I do have the rings.
Okay. That was a question. All right. Where do you have it?
Too, but, she's accepting it because it is the Olympic rings. But I have it on.
I think that's fair. Ankle. Okay. Perfect.
I feel with like the shoes, like Nike shoes and stuff, I'm like, it just looks like so nice with like, you can see that. And then you like racing wise. So yeah, I like it a lot.
I like it.
And that's the only tattoo?
That's the only tattoo so far.
Yeah. I like that.
Wait, okay. So what would make a potential future one?
I always like thought that if I do make it to Paris, like I'd want to like add on or do something. I wanted to get
tower over top.
I'm at University of Missouri, but I never ended up doing that. So, who knows? Probably won't do that. We'll see.
Yeah, I when you make it to Paris, you got to start already thinking about a tattoo.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we were introduced via our friends at Kodiak. So how long have you been working with them?
I've been working with them since 2020, I want to say. It was before I was an Olympian, because I remember them specifically asking like, can we just call you an Olympian in this video clip? And I was like, no, like, I don't want to jinx it for future. And I was like, I can't. So, yeah.
I mean, that is the coolest thing though. Like, you now are an Olympian forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it's like getting your doctorate.
Yeah. And it's something that I feel like everyone, it's like a pinnacle, like in the sport, you always are like reaching for that. And it's something that's just really hard, because it also makes like trials and everything just so nerve-wracking. Every once in 4 years, you're just like having this race, and like you kind of put a ton of pressure on it. But now it's just like, I think it's best to go into it like it's every other year, which is hard to do, but it's hard to get on that line and put all that pressure on yourself to make that team.
Do you feel it puts a target on your back too when you're racing? Like someone was like, because like I would be like, even if it's an injury or something, like if you line up against an Olympian and you win, that's an exciting thing. I would think that people who, you might put a little extra log on their fire to line up next to you and see that tattoo on your ankle.
Yeah. I always joke with people though that I love racing as like the underdog, and sometimes it's just can't do that sometimes. And so eventually I'll just be like, no, like, because like just racing in college was always so fun to like race against the pros and being like, oh, I just beat one of those pros. Like this is amazing. But now being those pros and racing against the college kids, you're like, oh no, not today. I'm not sharp like all of them. Reasons in your head, and it is like funny to like have to switch the roles now. But racing as like a college kid, or when you're like, you know, like striving to get where everyone else is at, it's always like inspiring because you're just constantly, you know, like, oh, I could beat this person, or I beat this person.
Yeah, nothing to lose.
Yeah, nothing to lose. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Kodiak real quick. What is your favorite product from them? And then also, are you a cook?
Yes. I really like baking, and I actually love making pancakes. So we have a lot of team pancake parties, and my team loves the sponsorship from Kodiak. So I like post long run pancake parties, all sponsored by Kodiak, and it is great. We have the chocolate chip pancakes, all the different.
I want the chocolate chip pancakes.
Yeah, those ones are really good.
We get the oatmeal.
The oatmeal pancakes. I've tried those too. And then even the single cups, the s'more single cup is one of my favorite ones.
All right.
So are you making pancakes for the whole team?
Yes, but I get a little bit of help usually. So I'll be usually the main flipper, but I'll have people like mixing some stuff up, and we'll have like a side of other things too. But I'll usually be like eating my pancakes like while cooking because our team can eat a lot of pancakes, so it takes a while.
I love it. Okay, we are huge shoe nerds over here, so we have to ask you, when you're training, what is like the favorite easy day running shoe?
Like a daily trainer, the one that you go out and get your garbage miles in.
Yes, I've been really liking the Vomero 16 right now. And I also like the Invincible 3 too. A lot of people have been having really good reviews from that. And I just like started running in it for like kind of like just treating it as like a double shoe or like a recovery shoe. And then I was just like, wait, I feel like amazing every time I run in this shoe. Like I need to start using it like a little bit more. So yeah, I've been really enjoying between those two. I also like the structure too. I've always been structure person, but sometimes that can just feel like heavy. So you got to have a little bit of a lighter shoe in your like in your lineup.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think, is it the Vomero we just got that we loved?
It's got the Zoom X and the it's not, I want to say, I forget the other foam. It's like they're more traditional.
Yeah.
Cushlon, I think it's Cushlon 3.0 or something like that.
The Vomero 17s or 16?
Yeah, 17.
Oh, yeah, you prefer like the 16.
Well, I still have yet to try the 17 just because with the injury and everything, I'm like a little slow to this. Yeah. But I've heard really good things about 17.
Yeah, I think it's a nice update. I think you'll like it. Mostly, I think it's got a more agreeable upper. And so you'll probably dig it. But
yeah. And I heard it rolls through the foot a little bit better. So yeah, I'm excited to try that. Yeah, it's always fun to test out Nike shoes because they're always like making new updates or like finding something else, and you're just like, they're always like telling us like this is for like next year, and you're like, what? Okay. So I can't like fully run in races in these yet until next year. Yeah.
So is it most of the stuff though, when you're getting it, would be like spike technology and track shoes, and a lot of that stuff is they seem pretty aggressive on R&D and stuff like that. So I'm guessing that usually you're going to be out in front trying stuff, and then how do you decide like what you're going to use on race day? Yeah,
so especially for me this past year, like past couple years has been a lot of like trial and error, just because the spikes are very aggressive and they're really aggressive for my like Achilles injury too.
Yeah.
So just trying to kind of like in training balance out like how often I'm wearing like the plated shoes versus like wearing something without a plate, and trying to like load the calves a little bit more, because I like benefit a lot from the super shoes. And I think it just like helps my mechanics a lot, but it comes at a cost. So I just need to like kind of benefit, like at least balance that. And Nike's been great at being able to like show me different shoes like I can add into my rotation and that I can train with that are a little bit more like stable for me. Like, I mean, even just an example, instead of racing, like training all the time in the next percents, I've actually been training a little bit in the Ultra Fly, which is the trail shoe, but it's just a little bit more stable. And so we've been trying to like do a little bit more in that because my foot seems to like it a little bit better.
I actually have used that on the road more than I used it on the trail.
Yeah, it's a nice shoe. Like, I complain sometimes because I'm like, it's so much slower than everyone else's. But she's just like, it's better for you. And so eventually I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get stronger. Right.
See, that's the problem that I feel like if you had access to next percents all the time and you can get a fresh pair whenever you need it, they just feel they're fun to run in. They feel good. Your legs feel good afterwards. It would be hard, like, not to always.
Oh yeah.
Like, why not? You know?
And the worst is like when you have training partners and like even just like last year, like we'd be getting ready for like a speed session or something and Elise is like throwing on some spikes or something like that. And I'm like, wait, but I have the Vaporfly on. Like now I need to go. When your training partner does something, you're like, oh no. Like you're going
to be hanging on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so we know you're not going home for Thanksgiving. Do you have any fun plans this week?
Yeah, I'm actually going up to my boyfriend's family's place in Seattle. So spending Thanksgiving there, which will be good.
Do they do turkey trots?
No, they don't. So
all right.
Off the hook this year, which honestly is good for me. I don't need to have that like competitive like mindset. And I'm like doing my first runs back on the ground, be like, enter me in the turkey trot.
Yeah.
That seems like a safe bet.
So is he a runner?
He is a runner. He actually just did his first marathon this fall. So he ran the Indy marathon and it went well.
Okay.
So
that's awesome.
I drag him out on
Indianapolis?
Yes, Indianapolis marathon.
Wait, so did you get him into running or was he a runner already?
He was already a runner, yeah. So he ran at University. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But awesome. I feel like I've had him continue running because during COVID, I was doing a lot of like 2-hour long runs and I never wanted to do those alone. So I would just force him to go with me. And he's never run that far before. Like before that time, he was like, I've never done like 2-hour long runs like that. And especially like, I think we did like 10 weeks of like straight 2-hour long runs. And he just like started to really get to know me through that. And he would be like bringing like snacks along because he was like at 90 minutes. He's like, you get very like hangry. Like now he's like pulling out like anything like dried cranberries. He's like, eat this real quick. I'm like, okay.
Oh, but that's nice. He's being sensitive. He's like, hey.
Yeah. So.
Wait, so can he keep up with you? Is he fast?
He's got to be if he's going on 2-hour long runs with her.
Yeah. I haven't quite, well, I guess I've dropped him on a few workouts every now and then, but he usually isn't like fully training then or like just flew in and like took like a red eye and I'm like, we're doing a workout this morning, like hop in. So I'm kind of brutal.
Do you feel like you like, see, that's the thing when your significant other is suffering a little bit and you can drag them out. It makes the workout feel easier.
There is always that little like edge of like competitiveness where you're just like, oh, okay, like they're kind of suffering.
Yeah. Let me see how tired you can get.
Yeah. Well, especially when he all of his easy runs are pretty quick. So I feel like I'm constantly, when we're running easy together, I'm just like, slow down. Come on, like, let's stop. Like, so when I have a chance to actually like take it to him, I'm like, okay, we're going to make you suffer.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. It's so good. All right. Awesome. Karissa, this has been super fun to chat with you today. And I hope you guys have a very fun Thanksgiving. And yeah, we'll be rooting for a very, very speedy recovery for you.
Yes. And thank you for having me on.
I have to say, if some of our previous guests are any indication, typically when we interview someone, they come back really strong.
Mm-hmm. It's
so
just up from here.
I got to say, there was a little woman named Molly Seidel who had never been to the Olympics, who went to the Olympics. Kira D'Amato had no records and then got the 10-mile record, the marathon, and now the half. I mean, we've helped a lot of people's careers.
I have high expectations then.
Yeah. It might get a gold. Who knows?
I'll come back on this podcast if that happens.
That would be great. We'll have to do like you, Kira, and Molly all together. Oh, and then also Emma Jean Bates has done quite well since being on the show. So, but we've had her back on. I don't know if you saw that when we had a cocktails with her.
I love that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. All right.